Hi guys, Annie here. Today we're traveling to China for an epic cultural fail. Have a good laugh. Now there was a bright side to this epic fail in China with the little blue pill and the air flight. When we got off the plane, we were confronted with, I would say 500% humidity in China. And of course, any body smells tend to kind of get sucked up into the air and kind of wafted about. And so you can imagine what it was like standing in a line of 100 people waiting for passport control as I'm covered in vomit. Once you get through that, you get to go get your luggage. I dashed very quickly to the restroom. I tried to clean myself up as much as possible. I literally threw my clothes away. I put on new clothes. I tried to get the stuff out of my face, a little bit out of my hair. It was still kind of everywhere. And we were waiting for our host to pick us up. And she didn't come. And so it was really funny because actually the chief of police offered to give us a ride to downtown where we could do some shopping, which was cool. I mean, I was with people that spoke Mandarin Chinese, and, it was nice to have a distraction after that horrific air flight. So we go downtown, and we're kind of just wandering around looking at things, and there's a big glass front 3-story building, and my friend Nancy goes, "Oh my gosh, Annie." She goes, "Right here, you can get your hair washed. It's a hair washing business." She goes, "They will wash your hair for $3 US. And I was like, it's a deal. So we go in there, and it's all these young Chinese beauticians. All of us decided to get our hair washed in our group. Because what they did is they took you upstairs to the air-conditioned part, and while you sat there in air conditioning, they gave you a cold drink with ice. And they washed your hair. Only in China, the way they wash your hair in these salons is you're actually sitting up in a barber's chair. So then they start piling on the shampoo. Now, I don't mean like the way that you use shampoo in the shower. Like a quarter size, maybe a little bit bigger if you have longer hair. No. I mean piling on the shampoo. I'm talking a quarter of the bottle went on top of my head. And then they start kind of like mixing it in, right? And they suds it up, and they suds it up, and they suds it up. And pretty soon, you have got this little Egyptian pyramid of soapy suds on top of your head. And then they scoop that off. And then they pour another quarter bottle of shampoo on your head. And they mix it in and mix it in, mix it in, mix it in, suds it up, until you have another little pile on your head. And then they scoop that off as if it's some sort of, magical event. And then the best part comes, which is the head massage and the neck rub. And pretty soon, Nancy interrupts me and she says, "Annie," she goes, "they just asked if we wanted to have like a full facial." And I'm like, "Well, how much does it cost?" And she goes, "It's another $2. And I was like, "Sign me up. Let's do this thing." And pretty soon they're escorting me over to these kind of really nice beds where they do the facial. So Nancy's right next to me and she can interpret for me. And it's so refreshing. I mean, the air conditioner is blowing right on us. And this lady is just, giving me masks on my face and soft little cloths. Anyway, at this point, Nancy leans over to me and she said, "The lady wants to know, do you want your ears washed?" And I said, "How much is that?" And she goes, "It's included." And I said, "Go for it. Let's do it." Well, next thing you know, this lady brings over a machine. And now I'm not exaggerating here, okay? It was literally like having a power washer, cleaning out every single orifice of my ear. It was like, You know, it was a little unnerving. I mean, I jumped a little bit because I had never had my ears cleaned out like that, right? So then, you know, she pulls out these instruments that really looked like they belong at more like a dentist office. I mean, they were like sharp and long. And she gets out this wad of cotton and she like starts making like her own little homemade, you know, cotton swab. She totally is like cleaning just every little section of my eardrum. So then Nancy says to me, "Oh, Annie, she wants to know, do you want your eardrums tuned?" And I said, "No, that doesn't sound very good." And, you know, the lady who was doing, the esthetician that was doing the work on me, you know, she starts talking really fast. And Nancy says, "Oh no, like they're insisting you get your eardrum tuned. Because if you don't, after they clean it out, you know, you have to kind of reset it." And I'm thinking, okay, fine. Go ahead, they can do it. And I'm not kidding you guys. This lady pulls out a huge tuning fork. You know, the kind that you use for piano, to like tune a piano? And she strikes it on her knee and it goes whoa, 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 whoa. And she sticks the pointy end of the tuning fork into my ear. And so my entire ear and my jaw and kind of my brain is going whoa, 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 whoa. And Nancy says to me, "Hey, Annie, you know, now we get to go downstairs." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" And she goes, "Well, they don't want to send you out on the street with wet hair. You know, the thing is that, you know, they want to do your hair." So we go downstairs, and by this point, a couple of the barbers, they're young, they're trying to look really, really trendy, and I see them start talking and pointing at us. So I figure, hey, that's going to do, you know, be who does our hair. And Nancy says to me, "Oh, they're fighting over who gets to do your hair because I have naturally curly hair." And so these young men are kind of fighting amongst themselves, and all of a sudden, I kind of notice that the one guy wins. And he comes over to me and he invites me to come sit in his chair. But I have to tell you that his hair was jet black and he had dyed all of the tips white. And if you can imagine this, he had actually styled it like a flock of seagulls, like the band. So this is the guy that's going to do my hair. You know, Nancy was still interpreting for me. She was in the chair next to me. And she's like, "Annie, he keeps like thanking you like for being here today and that he gets to do your hair. And he's telling you like this is a huge privilege for him." And so I just said, "Tell him thank you very much. I'm very honored to." And the next thing I know, this guy gets out. I'm not kidding. This guy gets out 2 kinds of hair dryers, 5 kinds of curling irons, about 7 kinds of mousse, and 3 kinds of hairspray. And he lines it all up on his little tiny station, okay, where I can see it. And then he starts doing my hair. Now, he's not cutting my hair. He's only styling my hair. This guy was like an artist. He was like Da Vinci. He would stand back about 5 or 6 feet away from me. He would look at one side of my head. He would look at the other side of my head. He would go get some of mousse number 1. And then he would step back again, just to make sure he knew where he was going to put that. And then he would just go in, and he would just fluff that one little tiny patch of my hair. And then he would stand back again. And he would just admire the work he had done. Now this went on for a good 30 or 40 minutes. I mean, just the moussing of my hair. And then he would use hairdryer number 1. And then he would use curling iron number 2. And etc. and etc. And pretty soon, he had put like 7 different kinds of mousse in my hair. And he finished drying it. And he finished kind of putting on the last bit of product and the last bit of hairspray. And what was hilarious to me is that you have to remember, this is a glass front. And because it was in the center of the city, literally when I looked over my shoulder, it seemed like the entire town was standing out there with their hands cupped, trying to look in and see the American and her hair. And when he got finished, my hair, it looked like a glorious lion's mane. I mean, it just had these supple curls, and it just stood perfectly on my head, and it just conformed to this most beautiful shape. And I was just blown away. It was like poof. And the guy just kept thanking me. Oh, thank you, O golden hair one. You have honored us with your presence. And that was the silver lining. So, did you have a good laugh? Maybe a little cringe? Hit the like button for me. And leave me a comment, especially if my story triggered a great memory for you. To hear more of my next crazy adventures, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.